on Monday evening, April 27th. I'm here today to do today's daily recap of events that help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. And today's question is going to be, okay, is it opening? What do you think? And we'll get that in just a couple minutes. But right now, as we start off every day, since this mess is getting started, I want to touch base on the number of cases that is happening in the U.S. right now. And right now, as of today, we're at 958,000 cases of diagnosed COVID. Over 55.9 thousand deaths in just 9 weeks. That is well over the number of all deaths in the Vietnam War, in 20 years of Vietnam War. That's not only killed in action, but the killed, missing, people died after the fact. Okay, over 55.9 thousand deaths in just 9 weeks, well over what happened in 20 years of the Vietnam War. The death rate right now still stands at basically 5.5%. Little bright news, very little bright news, is that there's 110,000 cases that people actually had it and recovered. So if you get it, you don't automatically die, which is a good thing. A novel thing is some people are getting it and don't even realize they had it. So it affects people differently, which is an odd thing. They're still trying to track things down. This is only, since January, and they're still tracking down what goes on with this thing. For all the people worldwide, they don't have any real uniformity just yet. They've got some general things that happen occasionally, that happen most of the time, but they can't explain some things just yet. Now, New York State remains the hotbed, without a doubt, in the world. 292,000 cases in New York State. The deaths right now are 22.5 thousand, and 17.5 of those are in New York City. Their death rate and the number of new cases is slowing ever so slightly slowing, which is some good news. The governor of New Jersey is still having a hard time there. He's got 11,000 cases right now and over 6,000 deaths. His death rate is still inching up, but again, it is slowed down from what it was originally. Now, the numbers keep growing every day. And each case, and each death, is a personal tragedy. And there are individuals that are involved. There are communities that are involved. And I don't want to forget about any of those things. I really don't. I hope that you don't either. Now, I want to talk today about Landon Spradlin. Okay, he's a 66-year-old preacher and a blues guitarist. He and a fellow musician spent weeks down in Mardi Gras, and they played and they ministered to people there in Mardi Gras. That's what they did every year. They've been doing this for years. So when Mardi Gras finished, they packed up the Ford, Landon's F-250, and his wife Jean was in the driver's seat. Landon took the passenger seat, and they started heading back home. He was racked with fits of coughing, but it wasn't. It didn't surprise him too much. He was sick a lot anyway. He just had lung problems, but he was ordinarily a pretty talkative kind of a guy. But as the truck rolled over towards the Twin Bridge span, okay, he was pretty quiet. And the world had changed considerably since the Spradlins originally crossed that bridge weeks earlier to do their annual New Orleans street ministry. Now, the couple from rural Virginia had arrived on February 18th, several days before President Trump declared on Twitter that the novel coronavirus was very much under control in the USA. That's what he tweeted. Now, they left on March 16th. Okay. Just under a month, under 30 days basically. And March 16th, the day they left, was the same day that the president would recommend Americans stop gathering in crowds of more than 10. It was as the new cases of COVID that were once really confined to central China were starting to emerge rapidly across the U.S. that the cities and states started to get locked down. After a busy Mardi Gras, New Orleans had canceled its similar, parade and St. Patty's Day celebration, and the French Quarter was pretty much quiet and empty at that point in time. And the Spradlins were sick. This happened almost every year, though. They didn't think too much of it. After the crowds and the music, the conversation and the prayers with all the strangest things, they'd come home from Louisiana, and they'd always have some kind of bug. That happened all the time. And they didn't think too much of it. Again, Landon had some bad lungs anyway, and he was wheezing for days after the Mardi Gras, and it was assumed that it was just one of those periodic visitations of bronchitis and pneumonia that he normally would get. And his wife, Jean, who was 63, she came down with a slight fever and shortness of breath too. And again, it's pretty standard for them. They were used to dealing with the crowds, and when you're dealing with that many people, you always get a little sick. And they didn't think too much of it. And as an Air Force veteran, Landon sought help at the local VA hospital there in New Orleans. He was tested for COVID and came back negative. The doctors diagnosed him with pneumonia, and he's prescribed a course of antibiotics. It's standard treatment, no big deal. The Spradlins, however, were fervent Christians. Okay, they believed that God intervened in their world and to alter the course of believers' physical ailments. In fact, in 2016, Landon did an interview and was quoted saying, "I don't believe there are any incurable diseases. God could cure anything." This guy's a real believer. Again, he was a minister. He should be. Okay. However, something came out of Mardi Gras that was different this year, and not everyone really acknowledged the threat. 3 days before leaving New Orleans, Landon, an avid Trump supporter, posted on his Facebook page, and this was at a time when COVID had already killed about 40 people in the U.S. He warned in his post that the media was trying to manipulate your life and create mass hysteria. Well, they were driving down the interstate of Route 10 when Jean pulled into a North Carolina gas station to use the restroom. Landon had been quiet. She thought he was sleeping. And when you're doing those long-haul trips, one person drives, the other person sleeps. She didn't think much of it. She opened the passenger side door to help him out and told him that he needed to go to the bathroom too. Well, he didn't get out. He fell out. He fell to the ground. Okay. Landon had died. Now, with over 55.6 thousand deaths in just 9 weeks, there's a similar story for each one of those 55,000 people. Each one has a similar story. Something happened to them. They weren't planning on it. It just happened. They were doing their normal thing, and things just sort of happened. Okay. The problem is, with the spread of this virus, it hits groups and victims in nursing homes, churches, multiple members of family from the same and across generations. Okay. Even in the same part of the country, and from infants to elderly, all over the place. No one has really been spared from this so far. Now, right now, there's over 10,000 COVID deaths just in nursing homes and long-term care facilities by themselves. Okay. The folks getting hit the hardest are the seniors and the working class folks that have been helping to keep this nation running on a daily basis. Okay. These are the people that are out there every day doing stuff, keeping things running. The healthcare workers, the store clerks, the transit workers, the bus drivers, police and fire departments, especially with the states with high COVID cases. Postal workers, over 3,500 military people, over 3,500 military service people have been tested for positive, including 2 deaths. There are more than 5,000 reported cases and 13 deaths and workers in different meat processing plants. Okay. This is starting to affect the food supply. Okay. The USDA reported that pork and beef production across the country is down 20 to 30%. A thing just came across within the last hour or so that I noticed, that the farmers are having a hard time. They've got all this meat, they got all this livestock, they got nowhere to put it. They're going to have to start euthanizing some of their animals at this point in time. They never thought they'd have to do that because they can't ship to the processing plants. The processing plants are shut down. In many states, they're shut down. And again, it's affecting the food chain. As that happens, the food prices will eventually go up. in the direct Chicago area, they're going up right now. That effect is going to bleed out to the rest of the country in a relatively short order. Now, the problem is this thing spreads so fast. It doesn't always show signs, and it kills really, really quickly. It even kills people that are really familiar with how to deal with it. Again, doctors and nurses are doing this on a daily basis. They know what's going on. They know how to protect themselves, and they're still getting sick. About 20 to 30% of all the cases are in healthcare. Now, that really brings us to today's question. Is it opening? Is it really opening? What do you think? The president started a serious push for the governors to open their states. Okay. Right now, there's close to a dozen states that are trying to open in some way, shape, or form, and none of them have met the president's own task force requirements of a minimum of 14 days with a slowing COVID rate. None of them. But they're still making plans open. They're reducing restrictions. Now, it really doesn't matter too much what the president says. He would like to think it does, but it doesn't. Okay. It doesn't too much matter what the governors have to say either about easing restrictions and opening their states, because something interesting is going on here. You might not realize it or not, but the businesses need to decide to open. The businesses need to decide to open. What's their risk? Now, the president got on today. I thought he was going to stop, but he came back. Okay, came back on today, and he's got a parade of corporate types. Very selected industries, though. Pretty much drugstores and people in industries that are considered essential. These stores and chains are open, and they're doing exceptionally well because everybody needs medicine. What a surprise. But right now, 39% of the country has been laid off. 41% took a pay cut. We're at unemployment levels right now that rival, if not exceed, the Great Depression. So it doesn't matter what the president said. It doesn't matter what the governors have to say. They can ease all the restrictions they want. Will businesses decide to reopen or not? What's their risk? What happens if they reopen and somebody comes into their business and 2 weeks later they end up sick? Do they get sued? Probably. What a surprise. There's always an attorney going to drum up a lawsuit over something. And they might have some real good reasons at that point. I don't know. But even if the business is open, even if they open, okay, we're still doing social distancing. Dr. Bricks has said that well into the summer, we're going to be doing social distancing. Even if the places open up, they're going to be required 6 feet apart. And right now, even offices are changing their layout. Okay, the little cubicles before, all change right now. Okay, all change. Putting up plexiglass, they're looking to block off everybody. Again, 6 feet apart for the most part. Now, what happens in a restaurant? Restaurant opens, and because they got social distancing now, they can't fill the restaurant the way they did before. You remember some of the restaurants you sat into, you could reach over and grab something off somebody else's plate. You were packed that closely. Now, these restaurants are going to keep everybody at least 6 feet apart. How long can a restaurant stay in business if they maxed out all their seats at a 50% rate? They were just sort of hanging on before. You can just imagine a restaurant with half of its seats filled, but still has the same expenses. They're not long for the world. Come the fall, you're going to see tons and tons of bankruptcies. These businesses just can't do this stuff. And then the flip side is, okay, the business opens, that's fine. Do you trust the wait staff, the cooks, the busboys? Because the bottom line is it's up to the consumers. Now, with 39% of the country laid off, 41% took a pay cut, we're record unemployment right now, okay, and we had a consumer-driven economy before things happened. How many consumers are out there willing to spend money? Not too many. And if they were, do you go into that restaurant, sit down, and, okay, can you really trust the fact that the cooks in the back room are negative? I don't know. What about your wait staff? Are they wearing masks now? Do they test positive or negative? You don't know. They're testing right at this point in time. The president again today, big runoff, okay, about all the testing they're going to be doing. Well, the reporters called them out on this stuff. Called him out, called the vice president out, okay, saying a month ago you said all these tests were going to be available. They're not available. Nothing's changed today. They've tested a whole 1.6% of the population. 1.6% of the population been tested. That's a lot of people not tested. And you don't know who's got this and who doesn't. So, are you going to be in a rush to go into that restaurant with your family? Sit down and have a meal? Probably not. So, what do you think? What do you think? President wants to open. Brings on people. Does a nice show with the briefings anyway. Really does a nice show. He's good at producing a show. And he does a nice show. Okay. As for truthful information, it's a whole different situation. Okay. He's thinking, he created the biggest and best economy in the world. It was scary hearing that. It sounded like Hitler wanted to take over the world again. That's what it sounded like. Okay. The stock market has not crashed yet. What a surprise. It came down and it's bouncing around. It's a very interesting thing that the market is up at 2,400 right now. 24,000 actually. Okay. And everybody says, well, the market's doing good. It's not because the market's doing good. The market's doing okay because the Federal Reserve has pumped tons and tons of liquidity into the system. That won't last forever. Again, all this money that's being printed for the PPE, for the stimulus checks, everything else, that's fantasy money. It came off the printing press. At some point in time, somebody has to pay for that stuff. It's going to come back at some point in time. You're going to have to pay for it. Your kids are going to have to pay for it. Your grandkids are going to be paying for that money. Is it needed? Yeah, it's needed right now. But the market isn't doing anywhere near what it should be doing. They're just hanging on by a thread. Some people aren't even hanging on that much. Now, you let me know what you think. President wants to open, governors want to open, that's okay. Okay. Some businesses may want to open. Some are not in a rush because they know they've got liability. And if they feel that there's a liability, one lawsuit can wipe out 5 years' worth of earnings. You as a business, are you going to risk that? Is it easy just to say shut down for another month or two? I don't know. That's the decision individual businesses have to make. You as a consumer have to make a decision. Or are you going to patronize those businesses? Or are you going to go out there? Or are you going to risk your health and risk the health of your family? And again, as these things open up, nobody knows what's going to happen because they have to wait 2 weeks to find out if anybody got sick or not. Very interesting. So you let me know what you think. Let me know. Email me, let me know what you think. Private message me, let me know what you think. I'll be interested. Now, if you're still waiting on that $1,200 stimulus check, the IRS has made some key dates right now to set for the next round of payments. They've sent some out. Some people have actually gotten them. Okay. The PPE people, they're just screwed, big time. Tons of big businesses went and applied for that money. Some of them have decided to give some of it back, which is nice. Okay, but the small businesses where it was intended to go, they haven't got there yet. They might have an application and it's in a queue. So how long can these small businesses hang on for? I don't know. I'm used to working with small businesses, and a month, 2 months, and they're under. 1 month is ugly. 2 months, they're feeling the pressure. 3 months, it is gone. The entire business is gone. They don't have the cash flow for that. They don't have the reserves for that. Our country is not a country of savers. We don't have that kind of reserves. Okay, on a general population basis, most people don't have 6 months worth of reserves. Most people can't make it to the end of the month. So anyway, your stimulus check. There's too much information on that right now. I'm going to be posting a link on the page when I post this video tomorrow on YouTube. Okay, I have a link to a page there. That page has a number of different links on it. One of those links will be more information about the IRS dates as to what you might need to do, what you might need to check on to make certain that you're getting your stimulus payment. Now again, I post that in the video I post on my channel, which is The Real Money Doctor. So check on that. Again, there's a present there every day. Something at least entertaining, sometimes motivational. I like the entertaining stuff. The motivational stuff is nice, but it's nice to be able to take some type of action and actually move things along the way. So sometimes you're just so bummed out from whatever's going on, and a lot's been going on, that you just need some light entertainment, and I try and provide that in some of the links, and especially in the Daily Present. So again, I appreciate you being here. My only goal is to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow around 7 o'clock. Thank you.